The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, the latest IMF document shows Sri Lankan government has committed to continue reforms on state-owned enterprises. Sri Lankan garment exports will be allowed tariff-free access through the UK's upgraded Developing Countries Trading Scheme. The Colombo Stock Exchange reaches a significant milestone today as the oil share price index surpasses 18,500 points mark for the first time. And Wall Street indexes rose with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq marking closing record highs after better forecasts from Delta.
From Studio 24, here's Anuradhi Vikramasinghe.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us. The latest IMF document showed Sri Lankan government has committed to continue reforms of the International Monetary Fund and on state-owned enterprises, including settlement of legacy debts and limiting foreign borrowing.
Sri Lanka's current government has opposed privatization move proposed by the previous government, but it has agreed for restructuring, the document showed. The government said both state-run Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Ceylon Electricity Board have already included a debt repayment portion in their pricing formula already. On the CPC, the government has said a small margin in the fuel pricing formula is utilized to repay $251 million of the old financial obligations. Of this amount, $146 million remains to be repaid as of end March 2025, and they will ensure that these repayments continue. The government said, referring to Ceylon Electricity Board, that they plan to settle CEB's remaining legacy debt, estimated at about 180 billion rupees as of end 2024. Repayment of this debt is included in the electricity tariff calculation starting in June 2025. The IMF's conditionalities under the Extended Fund Facility have brought renewed urgency and structure to SOE reform efforts, trying financial assistance to measurable progress and helping overcome domestic inertia that has long stalled meaningful change.
Senior Economic Advisor Duminda Hulangamo explained that the proposed 30% US tariff on Sri Lankan exports is an additional levy on top of existing duties, potentially pushing some garment tariffs to 40%. Sri Lanka faces strong competition from countries like India, Bangladesh, Vietnam and Cambodia, with garment exports to the US valued at $1.2 billion out of the $3 billion total exports. The tariff applies only for the FOB price, which is much lower than the retail price, so the impact on US consumers is expected to be moderate. Negotiations on the tariff rates are ongoing, with other countries' tariffs ranging from 20% to 35%. Hulangamo emphasized that while market diversification is important, the US market remains critical and buyers cannot switch sources quickly. Sri Lanka does not intend to impose counter tariffs, but aims to secure the best deal through continued collaboration. The UK's upgraded Developing Countries Trading Scheme will boost Sri Lankan garment exports by allowing tariff-free access. The reforms support jobs, trade growth and offer UK consumers better prices.
The UK government announced upgrades to the Developing Countries Trading Scheme yesterday, simplifying rules of origin to allow more Sri Lankan goods, especially garments, to enter the UK tariff-free. These changes enable the use of components sourced from other countries in Asia and Africa, enhancing Sri Lanka's competitiveness in the UK market, its second-largest apparel export destination. The reforms are expected to support jobs, boost exports and contribute to sustainable economic growth in Sri Lanka. Johan Lawrence, Secretary-General of Sri Lanka's Joint Apparel Association Forum, described the new rule as a game-changer that will help the country compete more fairly globally. The wider DCTS reforms will also lower prices on everyday goods for UK consumers and support growth in developing countries by simplifying imports.
A new report by the Independent Growth Study Group outlines a roadmap for Sri Lanka's sustainable and inclusive economic growth from 2025 to 2030. It highlights progress in stabilizing the economy but stresses the need for structural reforms and targeted sectoral policies to reduce poverty and unlock growth potential. The report identifies 6 key policy areas, including macroeconomic stability, global supply chain integration and reducing poverty, with sectors like tourism, digital economy, manufacturing and agriculture poised for growth. Experts emphasize that opening up trade and streamlining business regulations are essential to boost exports and investment. The report also calls for coordinated action among government, businesses and civil society to achieve transformative growth in order to attract foreign investment and sustain economic revival. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange reached a significant milestone today as the all-share price index surpassed the 18,500 point mark for the first time in the capital markets history. The S&P also ended in the green today. For more on this, we speak with Salama Sanoon from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo Stock Exchange resumed trading after a day off and closed off the week on a positive note with strong sentiment all around. The all-share price index wrapped up at 18,541, registering a gain of around 380 points. The index demonstrated steady upward movement as retail and high net worth investors remained highly engaged and confident. This came in the wake of increased certainty regarding reciprocal tariffs, with Sri Lanka being one of the nations to see steepest reductions relative to the initially proposed amounts. The index was uplifted by banking sector counters such as Sampath Bank, Hatton National Bank, Commercial Bank and DFCC Bank alongside key conglomerate John Keel's Holdings. High levels of investor activity resulted in high turnover of 10.2 billion rupees, which reflected a 99% increase over the monthly average, which is around 5.1 billion rupees. The banking sector led the turnover, accounting for 27% of the day's total, followed by the capital goods and diversified financial sectors, which together contributed approximately 32%. The top three price gainers for today were Industrial Asphalts, Sathosa Motors and Arpico Insurance, whereas the top three losers were SMB Finance Non-Voting, Tess Agro and Waskadwa Beach Resort. Thank you.
The trading week began bogged down by negativity due to selling pressures, ending 2 days in the red. Following a market holiday yesterday, the bourses rebounded into positive territory, with record numbers at the ASPI as well. For further insights into the mixed week the CSE experienced, we have Shahana Kanagaratnam from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo Stock Exchange commenced the shortened trading week on a subdued note as investor sentiment was weighed down by uncertainty over potential US tariff adjustments. However, the market sentiment gradually improved over the course of the week and ended on a strong note as greater clarity emerged regarding the US tariff rates. Retail and high net worth investors remained active throughout the week, with notable participation from the retail segment. Market turnover exceeded Rs 6 billion in 3 of the 4 sessions, signaling strong trading interest. A major transaction was recorded on Tuesday when 77.4% of East West Properties shares were exchanged via off-board transactions. On Friday, market responded positively to the downward revision of US tariff rates. The ASPI surged by 380 points, pushing the index to a new record high of 18,541. Sector-wise, investor interest was observed in banking, diversified financials and capital goods sectors. Thank you.
Gold prices rose 0.5% in Asian trade today, supported by safe haven demand following US President Donald Trump's threat on new tariffs and ongoing geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Despite a strong US dollar limiting broader gains, gold futures also climbed 0.9%, though the metal remains within its $3,300 to $3,500 per ounce trading range. Platinum and silver outperformed gold, with silver reaching a 14-year high and platinum nearing an 11-year peak, both boosted by tight supply expectations and rising demand. Platinum marks its 6th consecutive weekly gain, while silver rose for a 3rd straight week. US copper futures, which had hit record highs earlier in the week, fell 1.2% amid profit-taking triggered by Trump's tariff announcement. Oil prices held steady in Asian trade today after steep losses the previous day, as markets reacted to fresh US tariff threats from President Trump and remain cautious about the OPEC Plus supply outlook. Brent oil futures rose 0.5% to $69.01 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude gained 0.7% to $67 per barrel. Both contracts had dropped nearly 2% yesterday from recent 2-week highs. OPEC Plus is reportedly considering pausing further production increases after its planned final 550,000 barrel hike next month, completing the restoration of 2.2 million barrels by September. The cartel also lowered its global oil demand forecast for the next 4 years, citing slower economic growth in China. The The Sri Lankan rupee has appreciated further against the US dollar today in comparison to Wednesday, and according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the buying rate of the dollar has reduced while the selling rate has also seen a drop. The rupee has also shown positivity against other major global currencies. For that, let's take a closer look at how the rupee has performed against other major global currencies today. Short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back. Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts has launched the first ever Sri Lanka Wildlife Festival in London, spotlighting Sri Lanka's extraordinary biodiversity. The three-day event positions Sri Lanka as a leading global wildlife destination.
Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, in partnership with Cinnamon Nature Trails, the Wilderness and Wildlife Foundation, and the Sri Lanka High Commission in the UK, launched the inaugural Sri Lanka Wildlife Festival in London from the 15th to the 17th of July 2025. The festival showcased 65 wildlife images and featured expert-led sessions to promote Sri Lanka's rich biodiversity and position it as a world-class wildlife destination. Sri Lanka boasts over 500 bird species, more than 6,000 elephants, the highest leopard density in Asia, and unique wildlife phenomena like the gathering at Minneria National Park. The festival also fostered collaboration among conservationists, tourism stakeholders, and academics to inspire responsible travel and sustainable tourism. Cinnamon Nature Trials leads to the initiative with its research-driven conservation approach, aiming to attract eco-conscious travelers and establish Sri Lanka as a premier destination for authentic wildlife experiences.
Ceylon Bank PLC's 15 billion rupee Basel III compliant Tier 2 listed debenture was oversubscribed on opening day, reflecting strong investor confidence in the bank's long-term strategy and financial stability. The debenture offers a mix of fixed and floating rates with 5- and 10-year tenures, and proceeds will be used to reduce maturity mismatches, strengthen Tier 2 capital, and expand lending to SMEs, exports, and agriculture. CEO Ramesh Jayasekara emphasized that the success of the issue supports the bank's commitment to national economic priorities and inclusive growth. The debentures are rated A- LKA by Fitch and listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange. In 2024, Ceylon Bank posted a record 10.5 billion rupees of profit after tax, with Q1 of 2025 profits up by 20.29%. The bank continues to focus on resilience, sustainability, and digital innovation as it enters a new growth phase. Acquired Knowledge Partners has unveiled RFP Pulse, an AI-powered platform transforming how asset managers respond to RFPs and DDQs. The tool boosts efficiency, accuracy, and productivity through automation and deep financial expertise.
The tool combines generative AI semantic search and a structured content repository to automate document ingestion, content retrieval, draft generation, and formatting. RFP Pulse is already live with multiple clients, delivering 25 to 30% efficiency gains, reduced manual effort, and improved response quality. The solution has demonstrated a 70% reduction in response retrieval time and over 80% accuracy in initial drafts. Quitty's deep domain expertise and experience with over 70 financial institutions have been key to developing this innovative tool. RFP Pulse aims to redefine productivity and quality, helping financial firms work smarter and win new mandates. The company plans to continue enhancing the platform to further support asset managers' evolving needs.
LLC Life Assurance, a subsidiary of LLC Holdings, has signed a strategic MOU with the State Mortgage and Investment Bank to strengthen its bank assurance services. This partnership will allow SMIB customers in Colombo and surrounding areas access to LLC Life's innovative life endowment insurance solutions. The MOU marks a major step in expanding LLC Life's already extensive bank assurance network, the largest in Sri Lanka's insurance industry. The collaboration supports LLC Life's mission to offer customized life assurance products tailored to evolving customer needs. SMIB views the partnership as a way to enhance its integrated financial offerings and deliver long-term financial security to its clients. Together, the two institutions aim to provide reliable and accessible life insurance to positively impact customer financial well-being. The Commercial Bank of Ceylon reinforced its leadership in Sri Lanka's banking sector by winning 6 prestigious awards at the Asian Banking and Finance Awards 2025 across retail, wholesale and corporate banking categories. The bank received titles such as Private Bank of the Year Sri Lanka, SME Bank of the Year and Sri Lanka Domestic ESG Program of the Year, reflecting its excellence, innovation and sustainability leadership. In 2024, the bank reported a 199.7% increase in profit before tax and a 164.3% rise in profit after tax, alongside strong growth asset and improved asset quality. Commercial Bank remains the largest lender to SMEs in Sri Lanka and leads in digital banking with over 1.5 million users. Its trade finance division was recognized for capturing significant export and import market shares through innovative digital platforms like CommBank TradeLink and CommBank Leap. The bank also made history with the largest listed debt issuance of 20 billion rupees and continues expanding its international presence with operations across South Asia and a new office in Dubai. Let's take a short commercial break now. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian stocks drew foreign inflows for a second straight month in June, buoyed by investors of wagering on US Federal Reserve interest rate cuts and a softer US dollar, though gains were capped by jitters over looming US tariffs. Foreign investors bought a net $6.02 billion worth of equities across Taiwan, South Korea, India, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam and the Philippines in June. China's Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite indexes rose 0.7% and 0.6% respectively, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index added 1.6%. All three were up between 1.6% and 2.5% this week. Japan's Nikkei 225 and Topix indexes fell between 0.1% and 0.3%, while Australia's ASX 200 index shed 1.5%. GIFT Nifty 50 futures for India's Nifty 50 index fell 0.2%, pointing to a negative open for the index. Traders were still holding out for a trade deal between the US and India after Trump claimed earlier this week that an agreement was close. Wall Street indexes rose with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq marking closing record highs as investors shrugged off President Donald Trump's latest tariff moves, while investors were encouraged by an upbeat forecast from Delta Airlines.
U.S. stocks rose on Thursday, with the Dow gaining more than 0.4%, the S&P 500 adding over 0.25%, and the Nasdaq ticking up marginally. The gains, while moderate, marked fresh record high closes for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. NVIDIA's return to its $4 trillion valuation milestone for a second straight day helped boost the indexes. Among other stocks, shares of Delta Airlines soared 12% after the carrier forecast third quarter and full-year profits above Wall Street estimates. That boosted the whole sector, with United Airlines and American Airlines also rallying. Shares of WK Kellogg skyrocketed more than 30%, following reports that Italian candy maker Ferrero was nearing a deal to buy the cereal maker. But shares of ConAgra brands sank over 4% after it forecast annual profit below Wall Street expectations, citing higher tariff-related costs for products, including its Hunt's ketchup.
Delta Airlines shares rose after it said its bookings have stabilized after a sharp pullback earlier in the quarter, but at a lower level than the company's estimates at the start of the year.
Shares of Delta soared as much as 14% Thursday morning after the airline issued a brighter profit forecast thanks to steady travel demand. Like most U.S. airlines, Delta had pulled its full-year forecast in April as President Donald Trump's trade war rattled consumer and business confidence, putting a dent in bookings. Since then, industry executives say travel demand has stabilized. Passenger traffic in the U.S., however, is still down from a year ago, leading to a decline in airfares, according to government data. Delta's second quarter earnings confirmed that trend, as the company said its bookings are now flat compared to last year, but that pricing power is still under pressure, particularly in the U.S. While a travel demand slump has impacted all U.S. airlines, Delta saw 5% growth in premium ticket revenue year over year in the second quarter and 8% growth in revenue from its loyalty program, cushioning the blow from weakness in main cabin sales. Delta's results helped lift shares of other carriers on Thursday, including American, United, and Southwest Airlines.
And that wraps up the nightly business report for this week. We value your opinion as always, so please share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. We'll see you again on Monday with the latest updates across the business globe. And until then, I'm Anuradhi Vikramasinghe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.